Hey, 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 coaches. How are you? Coach Kelsa here. I am sitting outside at my favorite coffee shop, Bergie's Coffee Roast in downtown Gilbert, Arizona. And Nashira asked an amazing question. And Nashira, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Please DM me and let me know if I'm not. She asked me a great question about the type of coach that I hire, or what's my process for choosing, picking, and hiring a coach. Like, how do I know when it's time? How do I pick the right coach? All of that. And I typed this amazing long answer in a comment, and it went away. So instead of retyping all of that, I thought I'm just going to go live and answer this question because I think it's a really good question. And I want to share it with all of you because I think if you have never hired a coach and been disappointed, I hope you never feel that level of like frustration. It can be so disheartening, and it can also lead to a lot of imposter syndrome in ourselves as coaches because we think, well, like, what if our clients ever feel that same way, right? So if you've ever invested in a coach and it didn't work out or you didn't like it or whatever, hopefully you learned some pointers or some tips for choosing your next coach based on this video. If you are joining me live, it looks like there's 5 of you on right now. Will you please let me know if you can hear me okay? I'm outside. The birds are chirping. I'm not going to apologize for that, but there is a street nearby. So I'm sure once in a while we will get a loud semi truck or something like that makes it hard for you to hear. But please just let me know that you can at least hear me okay. I've got my earbud in. So let me know. I'm going to wait just a second. Colleen is here. Michelle, drop me a quick comment, please. Let me know if you can hear me. Is there a way? I'm going to play with my phone for just a second. Comments and reactions. Swipe left to reveal. Okay, here we go. All right. Yes. Okay, cool. Thank you, Colleen. Thank you. Okay. Oh, so I actually love my process of finding a coach. It has taken me a while to sort of figure this process out. I now always have a coach. I always have a business coach, pretty much. I've just learned that for myself personally, I do best when I can talk things through with somebody. And I need to get out of my own head a lot of the times, and I process best through communication and through verbal communication, not writing communication. As we all know, I'm a terrible writer, but through a conversation. So for me, that's what a coach does, is gives me somebody to like process information on. The first thing that I want to tell you when it comes to picking a coach or knowing what the coach needs to focus on first is the best thing you can do is trust your intuition. I think oftentimes, especially women, we forget over time throughout our life how to listen to and trust our gut. And reading people is one of the best ways that we can trust our intuition. Chances are you know what you need help with, you know the area of your business that you need help with, you know why you need that help, and you know who you sort of resonate best with. And I have come to trust that if I have a coach in front of me that I'm thinking of hiring and everything lines up, the price of the program, the format of the program, what the program like deliverables are, the key areas that it says it focuses on, like if all of those things are perfect and my gut is telling me something is off, say no more. If my gut is telling me it's not right, it's not right. Everything else can fall in line, but the number one thing that matters most is my intuition. Okay, so I want to give you that first because I think it's super important. When I was first starting out and I wore all the hats, typically the business coaches that I hired had a very specific focus. So there would be like a marketing coach, sales coach, a program development coach, or a course coach, or a systems coach, right? And it was really like, what area of my business did I feel was holding me back the most from growth or from greater success or that kind of thing. Mindset coach is also another one. And so when you're wearing all the hats, chances are you're going to be looking for like a specific area of your business that you need help with. Okay. As you grow and you start to have a team or you have people who can help you and are supporting you in those various areas of your business, chances are the coach you're looking for, which is what the type of coach I look for now, is somebody who also has a team. Okay. So when you have a team of people, let's see, how do I say this? It's a non-negotiable for me that the business coach I'm learning from has to know how to manage a team of people, because it is like oftentimes the area of the business that's hardest for me at this stage, right, is figuring out how do I take an idea that I have, communicate it in such a way to somebody where that other person is then executing that idea, right? Like I'm not even coming up with a strategy sometimes, or I'm not even coming up with the how I'm implementing that strategy. I'm just coming up with the idea, right? And I need a coach who understands the dynamics, the communication channels, how you communicate a vision for something, but not get yourself in the weeds. How do you coach yourself through the mindset of that? Um, and so that's kind of the stage that I'm at now. The process that I use is that I will stalk a coach for a very long time, you guys. And I invite you to do this. Chances are many of you have done that for me in this group. And I commend you for that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. So people will sometimes, when I do a call with them, coaches, I do a call with you, to answer questions about the academy or something. And I hear this all the time where they'll say like, oh, I've been a member of your group for 2 years, but I'm sorry, I don't really post very much. I don't really comment, but like I watch all your videos, blah, blah, blah. And they sort of like apologize for that. And it's nothing to apologize for. I do the same thing to my coaches before I hire them. I like to absorb a lot of what they're putting out there. I like to see, how they're communicating, what their message has been like. I like to see, like, what did they talk about a year ago? And what are they talking about now? Has that pivoted a lot, or are they consistent, right? Those are the types of things that I think are important. Motorcycle, sorry. It's a good time to take a break and take a drink of my coffee. I will do typically like a baby step investment in some way. So I will sign up for like a weekend seminar that they're hosting, or if they're doing like, sometimes it's like a free webinar or, like a $500 offer kind of thing, where it's like a 4-hour workshop or something. I will likely start there. And I can tell you guys that step has saved me from hiring the wrong coach so many times. Oh, Colleen says you can't even hear the vehicles. Oh my God, good. Okay, that's good to know. Thank you, Colleen. Only the birds, and I won't apologize for the birds because they sound lovely. So that step of making like a baby investment first has saved me from hiring the wrong coach many, many times. Because here's the thing. I think there are a lot of coaches, business coaches especially, who are great at sales and marketing, like really good marketers and really good at selling. And once you get behind that, the actual like meat and potatoes, the value that they deliver, under delivers, unfortunately, right? Like they're really good at over promising and under delivering. And it's also one of those things where like what they put out in their marketing is different than what they're portraying on an actual paid workshop to their audience or their clients. Once you sort of gotten past that velvet rope. And there are times where it's not that they're bad people by any means, but it's like their philosophies come through more, or the strategies that they want coaches to use come through more. And I can gauge pretty easily that way that there's ones that I just don't buy into, right? So one thing you can do is ask yourself, what are your non-negotiables when it comes to hiring a coach? Some of my non-negotiables, I already talked about some of them, is that I need a coach now that has a team of people. So if you don't have a team of people, you don't know what it's like to manage a team of people, you're not going to be able to help me, like communicate all of this stuff to a team of people. So, and the complexities of that, right? So that's a non-negotiable for me at this point. I have some very specific sales integrity and sort of like marketing manipulation strategies that I don't respect, and I find them to come. I don't think they come from a place of integrity a lot of the times. Like they work, but I can't do them myself just from an integrity standpoint. And if I see a coach using those things, then I typically it doesn't resonate with me. Okay, and this isn't things like, there's things that a lot of people do, which is like scarcity around like, oh, I only have 3 openings next month. Like everybody does that kind of stuff. But it's the coaches who I think overpromise on the ease of implementation is one of those things where, like, if when I'm doing one of their paid offerings or even a free workshop or something like that, they are talking about their program and talking about the results that they can get you, and they're making it sound too easy, that's a red flag to me. Because one of the things that I think I figured out is that, like, a lot of these things that we're talking about doing, like, we are changing in the process, and that's not always easy, right? And that's okay. I don't need it to be easy. I need to be supported and encouraged as I'm making those changes when it gets hard. And if you aren't talking about how you are doing that, then I question whether you are aware of when it's going to be hard for me, if that makes sense, right? So it's just one of those really subtle things that I tend to catch up on or pay attention to. Uh, Not only do they need to have a team as far as like support staff, but I like for them to have multiple coaches at this level for myself. And again, I'm just giving you these examples so that you can ask yourself these things. So like um, the coach that I hired, that I have now, Rachel Rogers, she, I stalked her for probably, I mean, I've followed her for years and years, but I think I seriously started stalking her about a year ago as far as like, I'd like to hire her. At the time, she really only had like one offer, which was like called the Club. And I joined that just to kind of poke around a little bit, attended some of her webinars. But she has, and then she, after about a year, and like everything she put out, I just was like resonating with. I was like, yes, value system wise. That's the other non-negotiable for me is like, I don't need our value systems to be like the same necessarily, but do I know what you stand for? Do I know what your values are? That's very important to me. And it just so happens that like Rachel, I think, has a lot of the same values that I have. And she's very bold about communicating those, which I appreciate. But anyway, so I did all of those types of things for probably a good year before I hired her. And then when she put her offer out for a mastermind for business owners at my level, I like jumped at the chance just because at that point I already knew that I wanted to hire her. It was just a matter of waiting for her to craft an offer or a program that fit sort of my learning style that was best. So that's the other thing to look at is like, what learning style, how do you learn best? How do you receive coaching best? So I love some kind of a hybrid approach. I like one-on-one time with a coach, and I like the group mastermind dynamic. To me, that's like ideal for me. And getting back to like, I like having a team of coaches that I can talk to. So for example, if I'm noticing that we've got like a marketing, like there's rub in the marketing, like something feels a little, there's resistance, right? Like there's flow happening, but then there's this one area that like just feels like there's some resistance. I want to be able to go to the marketing coach and say, hey, this is what we got going on. What are you seeing? What are some questions we can ask? What things should we be looking at? What metrics should we be paying attention to? All of that. And then I take that input from a marketing coach and give it to my marketing director, which is Amy, right? And so I like to be able to have people that I can go to, not just as a one-on-one business coach who like coaches me and my mindset, but who is an expert in a certain area of the business. Okay. Operations is a big part of it for me. So having somebody who manages operations on her team, so I can go to them and say, hey, how are you guys doing this? I like to look for coaches who are like ahead of me. Right. And this is why, for financial coaches, a lot of times people say, well, I'm still in debt. Can I call myself a financial coach? Or I'm not FI yet, right? Like I can't retire young yet. And it's like, can I still be a financial coach? And it's like, absolutely. If you are like one step ahead of your clients, that's really all that matters. Like, do you know how to get them through what they're experiencing and what that journey is going to be like for them? Can you coach them through that? Um, so, and I would say at that point, once I find the coach, I, sometimes they have an offer already created that's like perfect. It's like, great. I'm just waiting for it to open, or I apply, or whatever the case may be. Sometimes you just have to wait. This is where getting on their email list is really important. That way you get notified. Like that's what happened with Rachel. I had been waiting for her just to put out an offer that was what I wanted, and she did. And so I was able to apply relatively quickly. I, you know, always have a growth and development savings account going in the business at all times. So every single month I put money into a growth and development savings account for training and development. This is either for myself or for my team. So sometimes someone on my team will want a coach or will say, hey, I need help in this area, or I'm struggling with this. We have parameters, and actually let me just pull those up really quickly. So we have questions we ask ourselves before we invest in a coach, and the person on the team has to ask themselves these questions when they are submitting their request to me that they want to hire somebody. Let me see if my computer will work while I'm also on my phone, because it's on my hotspot, so we will see. Let's see what else. So I would say, if you're newer, like, what area of the business are you looking for help with, and looking for a coach that's like niche specific. This is also why it's so important for you guys to niche down too, right? Because you could have a person who's struggling with their money, but like the part of their money they're struggling with is not an area you help with, and that is okay. It's a very freeing thing to realize that, especially when you're getting ready to hire somebody else as well. Okay, let me see. I got my computer open here. See how quickly it takes me to find this. What questions do you guys have about this? So thank you for doing this. I was trying to make the list of coaches I want next, but how to pick a coach was my next question. Yeah, you will, I will follow like a few coaches for a while and then sort of start narrowing it down. So that's when I will like attend some of their free things, or I'll pay for like a smaller offer that they have, just to kind of see like, what are they like behind the paywall? Do they really deliver on what they say they're going to deliver on? I think that is so important. And if you have ever hired a coach only to feel disappointed on the back end, you know how important that is. It can be devastating to invest. And you guys, like, I'm at the stage now where like I'm investing multiple 5 figures into a coach. Like, I always joke, you guys, that I'm literally buying every coach I hire, I'm buying them a Lexus. That's kind of like the joke Michael and I have. I'm always like, there's my credit card. I just bought that coach a Lexus. Which, hey, good for them, right? Good for them. Because I've done it this way, where I have like invested, 500 here just to kind of see what they're like behind the paywall. It has saved me from hiring bad coaches, right? Because I can't, it's easier to be like, I'm going to pay $100 and see what you're like. And if I don't like you, I think that was well worth that $100, right? Like, that was money well spent to figure that out. But if I have put like a big chunk of change down on a coach, and it's like they're shitty at what they do, or you can't get a hold of them, or they're disorganized, and so you can't get results because you can't schedule appointments, or just that whole mess. Like, this is also why I'm so passionate in the academy about, you don't have to have your entire business model figured out. You don't have to have all the bells and whistles. You don't need to have every step mapped out, but you need to have some sort of outline or idea of what kind of journey you're going to lead your client through, because your client is there needing to take your lead, right? Like, they're stressed out, they're worried, they've got a problem they need to solve, which is why they're hiring you. And for them to sort of feel like that's open-ended, or like they don't know how to get help and it's not clear for them, and you're not taking the lead because you don't know how you're supposed to be helping them, it's problematic, right? It's harder for them to lean into growth and change if they feel like they're constantly managing you, their coach. Okay. Ooh, Colleen says, I have learned so much from hiring coaches that didn't follow through on what they were promised. Painful and expensive learning lesson. 100%. My budget, so back to the savings. I'm sorry, I'm a little all over the place. This was all written out in a very coherent way in a comment, and then it got deleted. Damn it. Somehow. I don't know how I did that, but um, is 7.5%. So 7.5% of revenue is what I put into a savings account every month for training and development, either for me or the team. Now, typically speaking, it's not necessarily a flat 7.5% because I like to just do a flat amount every month and then I make adjustments throughout the year. So if we have a really good month, I might bump it up a little bit. So I'm not like super um, mathematical about it, but that gives you an idea of like what I shoot for. Take responsibility. Let me find. I'm trying to find. Our standard operating procedures are very long. Here they are. Okay. Probably clean this up a little bit. Okay, so here's what we ask ourselves. Does this solve a need we have in the business? Pretty straightforward, right? Like, does it solve a need? Is there a need, or does the team member think there's a need? So this is something where we just sometimes have to talk about it. And it's like, hey, I have this need. And it's like, we actually have that solution right over here. And we just need to be utilizing the solution we already have. Or that's not actually a problem. We designed it that way on purpose. And this is the mindset we want to adopt on that. We just maybe need to think about it differently, right? The next question is, this is a good one, you guys. Listen up for this one, okay? Were we seeking a solution to this problem, or did listening to someone's content contribute to us seeing this pain point? So in other words, are we falling for a sales pitch possibly? If you listen to a lot of podcasts, this can happen easily. So if you listen to a lot of coaching podcasts, it's one of those things where like their content is all focused on solving a problem. That's probably why they have a podcast, right? Because they have an offer that satisfies the need that they're addressing on the podcast. We have a podcast. That's exactly the design of it, is that we are helping our clients on the physical fitness side of things to see that they have a need with their money that we can help them solve, right? But if you aren't careful, that can actually plant seeds of doubt that you don't even need to have, right? So we always ask this question because we're like, well, how did we identify this need? Where is this need coming from? Like, were we really like aware of this? So we went searching and we found this podcast, and it just so happens that this person, this is their area of expertise. Or was this a podcast I was listening to, and in listening to it, I've sort of fallen victim to their voice in my head that I need to work on this, if that makes sense. You want to be careful not to do that, okay? And I say that even if you're listening to me all the time talk, okay, about your coaching business. I give you permission to be like, I don't need that right now. That's okay. Number 4, how much is this pain costing the company? You could say, how much is this pain costing me if you don't have a team? Sometimes there are direct costs, but oftentimes these are intangibles, such as low confidence or poor culture, or an inability to take action because I don't have clarity on what I'm supposed to do, or I don't have a clear vision for what I'm doing, right? Like sometimes it's more intangible than like a direct cost. Okay, sometimes you're looking for the course platform I'm using is costing me too much money and I'm looking for an alternative. Like that's a direct cost where you could save money, but oftentimes it's more intangible. Let's see. 2 more questions. Number 5, do we have the time to dedicate to the solution? Who is overseeing it, attending, summarizing and sharing the information, making the most of it, and applying the knowledge or skills? So it's one thing, I mean, this is where I think why it bothers me so much if a coach like sells this idea that everything you're gonna like the program is easy. Every coach you hire, every program you invest in, the academy, the toolkit, mastermind, everything I offer requires you to show up. It does, right? Every coach I hire doesn't just like hand me something on a silver platter. Like I have to show up. I've got to schedule the calls, the group calls, the team calls, the one-on-one coaching calls, the work. My coach gives me homework, and literally in the mastermind on Monday mornings, we all share our intentions for the week. And then at the end of the week, we all report in on how we did. And I do that as well. And so this week, the mastermind coaches can tell you that one of the things on my list for this week is I've got to block off some time to work on the homework that my coach gave me. I've got some exercises I was given, and I need to block out the time to do that. And so if you have a team, or even if you have like a couple of people on your team, like who is responsible for dedicating the time and energy to the program and to the solutions and to distilling those solutions down and communicating them to everybody, and to actually applying and implementing the solution. Number 6, what's the ROI? So similar to the cost above, the ROI can be direct or financial. More than likely, though, it's intangible, and the benefits are sometimes tied to like, what's the ROI of solving the problem, right? We all feel better. We have a better value proposition. Our marketing is better. And the direct ROI is like, we should have more clients coming in. We should be able to raise our prices, like whatever the case may be. But sometimes it's just like, I just feel more confident in what I'm doing. That is okay, right? One of the things that I have figured out probably a few years ago now, maybe 3 years ago now, that I really wish I would have learned way earlier in business is the best investment I can make is anything that unleashes my own creativity. Anything that like frees up my mind, my mindset, and unleashes my creativity is the best investment for the business, right? And so I can't always tell you a direct correlation on like, this program made it so I increased my prices by 22% and I made this much money and I paid this much. It's not usually that way. It's usually much more intangible than that, more intrinsic than that, around I feel more confident, I learn new things, we put some solutions in place that streamline our efforts or made life easier for my team so that then we could take on something new, right? Or we just freed up time and hassle and learned how to do a job better, right? Yes. So to recap really quickly, those are the 6 questions we ask on our team. What are your non-negotiables? What is really important to you when you are hiring somebody? What about them? What about their program? How do you learn best? So like, my non-negotiable is I want a hybrid program. It's got to have a little bit of one-on-one time, a little bit of group time. I also like in-person component as well as virtual. So these are just things that I learned about myself over time, like how I learn best, right? So what are some non-negotiables for you? I was going to say I tend not to worry so much about cost. Of course I worry about cost. That's not really a fair thing to say, but I have hired some amazing coaches who charge a fraction of what maybe their competition does. And I've hired coaches who charge a pretty penny and they're amazing, right? So the cost is sort of like the last factor that I consider, I guess. And I want financial coaches to be considered the same way when our clients are hiring us, right? So I want them to make the decision based on, are we giving them what they need, like as far as the area of their business? Do our value systems align? Our communication styles, like, is the energy we're putting out into the world what they're looking for? And if all of those things are true, then what's the cost, right? Not what's the cost first, and make the decision based on cost alone. Okay. It's also why in the video that I did on like why we decided to raise the price of the academy and like the thought process that I went through and deciding that and the questions we asked ourselves and all of that, I had said in that video, like, we don't want to be competing on price. It's just not what we want. We want people to want who we are, want what we offer, want our strategies, and then consider the price after that. And it just so happens that that's my same philosophy when I hire my coaches. Once you do that, you ask yourself those questions, find a few coaches and be the tire kicker. Stalk them. Do some of their free webinars, sign up for their email list. If they offer a one-time session, like we offer the discovery session for our clients, if they offer something like that, invest in that in a small way, right? That way you are learning what you like. How are they behind that paywall? How are they beyond their marketing and sales abilities, right? So, how is their value proposition after that? That's super important. What was the experience like of being coached by them? In any way that you can feel that, that's how I want you to think about it. Like whether that's a group webinar or a group coaching call or a weekend seminar, anything you can do, attend a retreat, something like that. How are they behind their marketing? Um, and then, save always be saving for training and development. This is something we talk about in the academy as well. Please make sure you have that as part of your budget, that you are always saving for it, because I'm telling you, when the problem arises in your business and you need to hire help, hire somebody to help you solve it, it's costing you a lot of money at that point. Either it's costing you indirect because of confidence and that kind of thing, or it's costing you directly. And it's a lot harder to save to invest in getting help for that at that stage of things. So start saving for training and development and hiring a coach before you think you need it. Okay. The same is true for hiring an assistant. Start saving to hire an assistant long before you think you need an assistant. That way you've got some runway. Typically what happens, side note, we're going on a tangent. You guys are coming with me. Let's go. When you hire an assistant, you have to pay them. And the idea is that will free up your time. You will then be able to make more money with that freed up time. Either you're going to add more coaching time, or you're going to have your creativity be directed towards a new project or a new endeavor that then makes you more money, right? But that doesn't happen right out the gate. Typically, you hire somebody, you start paying them, your time is spent on training them, right? You have to get them up to speed and that sort of thing. And so you want to have a little bit of a runway where you're able to do that and it's a little bit more seamless. So start saving for that person before you actually even need to hire that person. Okay. And just so you guys know, I follow that same philosophy even today, years later in my business. I'm always assuming that I'm going to have to hire another person, and I just don't know who it is. I don't know what their role is. I don't know what their title is yet, but I'm assuming it's coming. So I'm always saving and getting ready to hire the next person. Okay. Once you do that, then, you know, dive in, listen to your intuition first and foremost. And it is okay to say no to somebody. If your gut is telling you that this coach is not right for you, your gut is probably telling you right. Okay. So I hope this was helpful. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. Let me know what you think. Lots of people here, which I love. Hopefully you can hear me okay. And that's it. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Bye.